I know. I hardly get. How are you? Good to see you.
I'll give you the.
Hello. Oops. Good afternoon. My name is Bob Baxter. I'm one of the counselors for Martin Falls First Nations, and I'm honored to be here. And I've been asked to do the opening prayer for this session. And I'll start by saying that just looking around, there's all kinds of cultures here, and we all have that what I call that stairway to heaven. That those spiritual beliefs that we all have, in different cultures. And I always say that our prayers go to the same place, to the same Creator, and nobody's lower or higher than anybody else here, and we're all one. So with that, I'm going to say the opening prayer in my language, and the Ojibwe language. And it's just to ask the Creator to guide us this day, to help us and guide us as we move on our journey, or whatever our journeys may be, as we move forward from today. Okay, miigach kisheman itu, kitini goy ga gijik. Kinana kumigut sagijik, miigoi chaini goan. Kinagigong no itigaon din naman ito apanong siya nung nikabi anong kiwet nung chigis kong umagi aking. Miigach kitini go. Shön mika kusiwach kawan shinwach, kawan entumwach ka gijik. Wechimin sewach kewi nawa. Miigach ke dikit man gewesh ka kipichin joto kipagit na mwach umat zunyuan. When you know in Joenda Gusianga Gijak, Chicken the Manguga keep Kinoma Gavin and Akipik Kinoma Givacho Yaguet, can you know in Chunje, Koyak Mat is young. The way Koyak Chipmui Toang Mat is young, Mat is in Nant Sagishak, Chanaga cheat young, Chijoin young, Chishagit young. Chinuab Chindikanwab Mishiang Koyak Chitota Mang, any knowing when Mat is in Nan. Miigwech.
Well, good morning, everybody. And how about this Northern Ontario Mining Showcase and the Great Work Mine Connect? Thanks for having us. Marla, raise your hand. We appreciate your support today. Gosh, this is my 15th PDAC. And I remember Mayor Phil Vanette, who I know a lot of you folks would remember, the mayor of Red Lake. Red Lake was situated in the Kenora riding at the time that I was the federal MP for. And he said to me, Greg, it would be great as an upstart MP if you could come to PDAC. And it would be awesome if you could bring some of your colleagues. We don't see a lot of provincial and federal politicians here. PDAC at the time had an extraordinary team, as it does today. And in 4 short years, it culminated in a visit by the Prime Minister of Canada, then Stephen Harper, and subsequently other prime ministers and premiers have been here with First Nations leaders, appreciating all the work that you folks do here. It was no surprise to the municipal leaders. They had always attended that special luncheon and knew the importance of this industry, mining and mining service and supply, to their communities. And raising that awareness today is going to go to another level. Folks, we've got a blockbuster announcement to make here today. And I'm joined by some very special colleagues, Chief Achneepineskum, I'm sorry, I practiced that, so Chief Bruce, and Chief Whitehead. I've got my cabinet colleagues here who will be speaking shortly, and of course, the Premier, whose leadership throughout has brought us to this place today with a clear vision of what the future in the Ring of Fire region could look like. Just very briefly, folks, over the past year and a couple of months, we have put together the building blocks, shared prosperity agreements with First Nations. We've supported and worked with First Nations, two of the leaders here today, as they completed their environmental assessments, and we entered into community partnership agreements, which set a new standard for partnerships and leadership to build out the legacy infrastructure to properly support and align with the community priorities of the First Nations, and, of course, developing the Ring of Fire responsibly. So I'm not going to go too much farther with that. You can imagine that after community partnerships, something special comes along, and my colleagues have joined me here to be part of it. So Chief Bruce, I'm going to ask you if you could come up and say a few words for us.
Bonjour, miigwech na kumakanak, icho kumakanak. In adamekte ke nene des nekas mustutem. My English name is Bruce, and my family name is Achneepineskum. From Marten Falls First Nation. I've been lucky to be chief for over a decade for my community. First of all, I want to acknowledge the prayers done by our elder and counselor Bob Baxter. I also want to acknowledge the land we're on, the Mississaugas and New Credit, other nations, Haudenosaunee, Algonquin, and Wendat, Huron. Land signed by treaty, Mississaugas and New Credit. Today, we come together to sign and celebrate this agreement with Ontario on behalf of Marten Falls, and I'm here today with my staff and my family. My daughter Talita is here. Some of my staff and council that made it this far journey from the north. I also want to acknowledge our partners, Webequie First Nation, Chief Lorraine Whitehead, and her council and staff. I want to acknowledge our advisors, longtime advisors, Kazim Sadiq, and also Mike Fox for Webequie. We have come a long ways in a few short years, approximately a little over 5, almost 6 years. We started our journey with the Marten Falls Community Access Road, which we completed for submission recently. Submission of all documents and all work for approval to the government. We're continuing that ongoing progress with the Northern Road Link, and it's another environmental assessment worthy of collaboration with Ontario, Webequie, our partners, and hopefully Canada in the near future. We enter a new phase with our submission of MFCAR, Marten Falls Community Access Road, which includes engineering and the construction preparation and mobilization for MFCAR. Within our own project of MFCAR regarding construction, we are using the current legislation today to guide our work. But we also use our own community laws, our own community processes, and ongoing engagement and ratification with our members. This is extremely important that this continue to be community-based, community-led for First Nations. As for far too long, we've been left on the back burner, the back benches of all projects. Hydro projects that have, in the past, have left us, our land, destitute of water and no involvement, no economic gain, no infrastructure. Today, we hope to change that with this new agreement that we signed in the fall, community partnership agreement with Ontario, but also this new agreement today we're signing. These are opportunities for our First Nation members, Marten Falls First Nation, and our neighbors in our region, including Webequie and the remote Matawa First Nations, but also the wider Matawa community. We have been there from the early stages, going almost 12 to 15 years, talking about the Ring of Fire from the early days of the Regional Framework Agreement. There has been not much discussion on the benefits, on the pillar areas that we hope to build within our communities. At that time, all Matawa communities were involved with the Regional Framework Agreement. And, in the future, that's how it should be. Moving forward in partnership with First Nations in our region, with Ontario and Canada. That's what we hope for. That's what we wish for. And that's what we'll be striving for in the near future. Projects have started and new ones are planned. Projects like the fiber optic project, which has run the much needed cable to all Matawa remote communities, five remote communities, but also to Matawa road access communities. These projects have the ability to change our lives in these communities with technology, but also with the business opportunities it presents. The energy planning project has started for the Matawa remote communities, and we hope to get that going with our work and partnership with Ontario and Canada. These will bring immediate benefits and also be focused on the long term, with the eventual goal of transmission grid to all Matawa remote First Nations. This is extremely essential planning that we have started. As you may know, recently one of our sister Matawa communities, Achneepineskum, has been in the news, suffering from poor infrastructure, diesel generation breakdowns. Also, our neighbors to the east, Saskatchewan First Nation, infrastructure breakdowns. It doesn't have to be like that. If we all cooperate, if we all acknowledge our treaties, which this land is built on. So we have to ask our treaty partners to live up to our treaty obligations. If this is done, we will ensure the quality of life for all First Nations, including the region, Ontario and Canada, benefit. We will ensure environmental safeguards are in place to the satisfaction of all. We will respect Aboriginal and treaty rights, ensure prosperity with partnership, and ensure that these things are done the right way. I want to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Shimigwach.
Thank you.
Good morning. Wajia, I am sure all of you are anxious to see the new face. Here I am. Gonetam ganin bagusan na magma nuidanis na begaj bagad na shots ganin jabigod damogo. Migwach nandan. I want to recognize the Premier of Ontario, Chief Bruce Achneepineskum, Minister Rickford, his colleagues, and all the guests joining us today. I especially want to acknowledge my elders my youth, my community members who continue to guide me as well as to shape the direction that Webequie wants to go. Today's statement on economic partnership is important because it supports training, education, capacity building that our community needs for economic opportunities for all the projects in our territory. For Webequie, this is about self-determination. It is about ensuring that our community members are fully participating and leading any work happening on our lands. Whether it be business development, construction, environmental monitoring, engineering. Webequie must be at the center of leading and benefiting from economic growth. Our youth matter. What we do today will impact their lives and the future generations. We want to ensure that we have access to training, mentorship, and career pathways. This is one of the most important responsibilities as I have my leadership and I have as leaders. Webequie is strengthening capacity, building readiness, and planning for responsible development in the Ring of Fire. We honor our traditions, rights, and our responsibilities to the land. I want to be clear. This government-to-government announcement today with Ontario is only the beginning of a conversation to explore commercial possibilities. I want to say that we look forward to meeting with the industry to discuss Indigenous-led environmental review. And I want to thank everybody that has contributed to this work already. And I look forward to continuing these discussions. Miwa.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Chief, for that kind introduction. It's great to be here alongside Premier Ford, Minister Rickford, Minister Lecce, as well as Councillor Baxter, and many of our leaders here in the mining industry and sector, and people from across the world. It's been incredible to see how many people have actually joined us from different parts of the world to be here today as well. Under the leadership of Premier Ford, our government is protecting Ontario by unlocking the province's full economic potential. We're building the all-season roads to the Ring of Fire. Work by Ontario and First Nation partners to get shovels in the ground is well underway, including environmental assessments, preliminary design work for Anaconda and Painter Lake roads in the Webequie Supply Road, the Marten Falls Community Access Road, and the Northern Road Link. Together, these 4 road segments will connect First Nations to the provincial highway network, improve access to essential goods and services, and provide reliable access to the area that is critical to the development of the Ring of Fire. These roads will cement Ontario's position as a world leader in the critical minerals supply chain, creating good-paying jobs in Northern Ontario, many of them in Indigenous communities that we are partnering with. Ontario is home to a vast supply of critical minerals the world needs right now. We're ready to build, and we're proud to partner with Indigenous communities as we get this important work done. With that, thank you very much, and I will turn it over to Minister Lecce. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Minister Sarkaria, for your introduction and your leadership. I just want to echo Greg's message. Warm shout out to Mine Connects, the Ontario Mining Association, the Ontario Prospectors Association. This is an incredible day, and it's a day of momentum. Because for too long, government said it couldn't be done. And worse, they said it shouldn't be done. You know, that thinking pushed Ontario 15th in the world for mining investment, plagued by a permitting system that was too complicated. It was too slow. It was too frustrating to build anything in this province and country. We rejected that decline. Under our Premier's leadership, we tore down that fragmented, unsustainable structure and replaced it with a system that says yes to responsible resource development in partnership, yes to jobs, yes to growth. And now, because of this plan, Ontario has emerged as the second in the world for mining investment, number one in Canada. Now, when I told the Premier that, he said, why aren't we number one? So, Premier, we're going to keep working on this to become number one in the world. But for my goodness, we moved from 15 to second because we are working in partnership, moving at lightning speed. And we're doing it together in the fight for Canada. And I think that's what momentum looks like. I mean, we're making it easier and faster and better to open a mine in partnership with First Nation communities. We're doing it to support Canadian jobs and Canadian materials. Because in today's world where instability is growing by the hour, Ontario is emerging as an island of stability in a sea of turmoil. We are emerging as the world's reliable partner with a serious plan to cut through the red tape, to build the roads, yes, the transmission, the infrastructure, and most importantly, build up Canada's self-reliance. So we're going to take the next bold step to unlock the Ring of Fire. And we are already delivering the power to get it done. We've prioritized. Minister Rickford and I announced the Greenstone transmission line to bring reliable electricity to the gateway of the Ring of Fire. Because no longer are energy and mining separate conversations. We are on the same mission. And our government is firing on all cylinders. This is what this man expects of us. Protect our province, secure our supply chains, claim our place, yes, as a global critical minerals leader. I think we can say this is nation building in action. So let's be clear what happens next. We're going to build. We're going to connect the infrastructure. We're going to keep leading. That's our Premier's expectation. And so the Ring of Fire is no longer a concept on a map. It's a project in motion. It means roads. It means roads. Power to the north, opportunity for an entire generation of workers, scholarship and education for the next generation of young people. And we are just getting started. So colleagues, friends from around the world, 127 nations in the House, will you welcome the man with the plan, the leader with the vision, standing up for our country at a critical time, our Premier, Doug Ford. Thank you all.
Oh, boy. Boy, that was a good introduction. And thank you, Minister Lecce. And, you know, you're bang on. We're welcoming the world to PDAC right here in Toronto, Ontario. 127 nations from around the world. And as I was telling my ministers every single speech for the last month and a half, I've been pumping PDAC. We are the global headquarters of mining anywhere in the world, right here in Ontario. And it's great to be here. It's great to be here with Ministers Rickford, Sarkaria, Perry, Oosterhoff, Quinn, Fideli, Thompson, Holland, McCarthy, and MPPs Cazzetto and Ferrin. And I just saw the greatest Consul General from the UK. Consul General, great to see you. And I can tell you, all of us are out there promoting our great partnerships and talking about incredible partnerships. I have to thank Chief Bruce and Chief Lorraine. And Councillor Baxter and Mayor LaFerriere. But I got to stress this, folks. This would not happen without the cooperation, collaboration of our great two leaders here, Chief Lorraine and Chief Bruce. And I have to make sure that we also mention all the other First Nations, especially Arrowland, and that's kind of the gateway starting off. And all the industry leaders here with us today who make Ontario's mining sector the best in the entire world. And thank you to Karen and everyone at PDAC for the invitation to be here. I see my Minister Vic Fideli, that travels around the world, your Minister of Economic Development, but working hand in hand with our colleagues here, because when Vic's traveling around, he is selling Ontario, he's selling critical minerals, he's telling the world that we're open for business, he's telling the world that we've created the conditions and the environment to come and invest right here in Ontario. You know, folks, as President Trump's tariffs take aim at Ontario businesses and workers, our government has a plan to protect Ontario. We're building a province that is more competitive, more resilient, and more self-reliant, so we can stand up to President Trump's tariffs and whatever else comes our way. We're attracting new investments to create more jobs by lowering taxes and cutting red tape, saving businesses and families $12 billion each and every single year, and 1.8 million working hours. Folks, the bottom line, we have never, ever raised a tax. We're the only government over almost 8 years that have never raised a tax, and I will never, ever raise the tax, because we're strong believers that you can spend your money a lot wiser than the government. Businesses can spend the money a lot wiser than the government by investing in their people, into technology, into infrastructure, into equipment, hiring more people, and making Ontario thrive, prosper, and grow. We're breaking down internal trade barriers to build up our economy right across the country. I know quite a few premiers are coming to town today. I think the whole world's coming to town today. We're building new pipelines, rail lines, airports, and seaports, so we can find new trading partners and rely less on the old ones. And in particular, I'm talking about President Trump on that one. We're powering economic growth by building the future of nuclear energy, including the first small modular reactors in the G7 and the first large-scale nuclear facilities in decades. We're leading the world in critical minerals. We're leading the world in energy and nuclear. And folks, we're going to lead the world in every single category. And you're right, Minister, where's Minister Lecce? You're right. The first thing out of my mouth when he said we jumped from 15 to number 2, I said, who's number 1? And he said, Nevada's number 1. But here's an example of what we're up against, folks. Why I always say faster, quicker, immediate? Because our competition south of the border is trying to eat our lunch, and we have to make sure we get these permits out as quickly as possible. And do you know who helps in that? I have a friend here in the crowd. His name is Michael Fox. Michael, I saw you a minute ago. Anyways, Michael is part of Webquay, but I'm sorry, Chief, he's moving to Etobicoke, and he's going to be my neighbor down the street. And anyone from Etobicoke goes right to the top. So, Michael, you're an absolute champion. And we're doubling down on more than $223 billion to plan to build the largest plan of its kind in Canadian history, to build roads, highways, and critical infrastructure needed to connect Ontario's mineral-rich north with our manufacturing might in the south. And I'll tell you a quick little story. I'll never forget it. Chief Bruce, he went back to Marten Falls, and he was having a Christmas party. And he said, Premier, can you call in? So I called in and thanked everyone. But what stood out, Chief Bruce, was the youth. The youth that were so happy that we're building a road, that they have an opportunity, not just to stay within the community, always support the community, but have other opportunities right around Ontario, bringing opportunities as simple as a community center, a new hockey arena, or learning a trade or a skill, bringing healthcare to the community, having access, flying access, building new airports, no matter if it's up in Webequie or Marten Falls or Aeroland, right across Ontario, until everyone has access to come and go. And we couldn't, I'm going to say it again, we could not do this without your leadership. And Chief Lorraine, she was newly elected, and I have all the confidence in the world in you, Chief, and your whole team. When it comes to our plan to protect Ontario, the front lines in our fight to build more competitive economy are found on mining sites across Ontario. Ontario's mining sector contributes more than $14 billion to our province's economy, supporting over 75,000 good-paying jobs. from electric vehicles to advanced manufacturing to artificial intelligence and military technology. Mining sector is critical to Ontario and Canada's economic future. Together, we're realizing its full potential. We're investing $500 million, $500 million, to create the Critical Minerals Processing Fund and strengthen Made in Ontario critical mineral supply chains. We've launched the One Project, One Process to cut government approval timelines for new mining projects in half. And we've signed a transformational cooperation agreement with the federal government to eliminate duplicative impact assessments, including from mining projects and the infrastructure needed to support them. By cutting red tape and streamlining approvals, Ontario has created the stability, transparency, the predictability that global investors are looking for right here today. The world is noticing. Last week, the Fraser Institute ranked Ontario as the most attractive jurisdiction in Canada for mining investment. In fact, and again, thanks to our friends in the First Nations, they made that happen. In fact, Ontario ranks second in the world, only behind Nevada. Folks, we will be number one in the world the next time they take this survey out there, and we will be leading the world. We'll be blazing a new trail for every person in Ontario. I'm enormously proud of our team for the accomplishments and our partners who helped make this happen. As sure as I'm standing here, we won't stop working until we're number one, because there's so much promise in realizing the economic potential of Ontario's mining sector, and nothing's more promising than the Ring of Fire, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to create more than 70,000 jobs, make Ontario critical mineral superpower, and add $22 billion to our province's economy. With President Trump's tariffs causing so much uncertainty, we don't have a second to waste. It's why today our government is releasing an accelerated schedule to finish construction and start opening the roads to the Ring of Fire in 2030, 5 full years ahead of schedule, with construction set to begin this June. Folks, I'm not happy with the 5 years. Let's even accelerate it more. The quicker we do it, the more opportunities that come and more economic development for our friends in the First Nations and everyone else in the province. I want to be clear, this accelerated schedule is a baseline. We won't rest until we've taken every single last day, every second, every week, and month out of the plan to open these roads as quickly as we can. Seizing this opportunity would not be possible without our Indigenous partners that I've mentioned many, many times, but I'll continue to mention them every single time I get in front of a microphone, because again, this would not happen without your support, and we'll never forget that. Which is why today I'm thrilled to announce the signing of a new joint statement of economic partnership with Marten Falls, Webequie First Nations, including equity opportunities through the Indigenous Opportunities Financing Program to support the building and operation of an aerodrome. And I said an aerodrome when they said that to me. It's a runway. And so they're using these fancy words. They're building a new airport. So anyways, accommodations and aggregate businesses. Our agreement also includes $2.5 million of investment to support local economic activities and ensure both communities get the training and the support they need to benefit from this historic opportunities in the Ring of Fire. I saw pictures of excavators up there, up in Webequie, you know, those big green excavators. I can't name the name, but I told those folks, by the way, you aren't getting those back. Leave them up there because we're going to be building nonstop. I want to thank Chief Bruce, Chief Lorraine, and Councillor Baxter, Michael Fox, and the whole team here and their leadership, helping us reach these agreements to lay the foundation for lasting prosperity for their communities and across Ontario. Friends, we're at a turning point for Ontario's mining sector. Working together, we're going to unleash the full and awesome potential of our mining sector. We're going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs, high-paying jobs. We're going to add hundreds of billions of dollars to our economy. Working together, we're going to make Ontario the most competitive, most resilient, and the most self-reliant economy in the entire G7. I want to thank everyone. It's a record crowd, they told me. Thank you, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you so much. My voice was going on. Okay.
On follow-up, please state your name and your outlet before your question.
Premier Ford, good morning. Sean Jefford, CBC News.
Good morning, Sean.
Premier, I wanted to ask you about the announcement today and the accelerated timelines. This is a project that's been in the works for decades, a lot of fits and starts. Why are you confident that what you are announcing today and these timelines will be met when they haven't been before?
Well, thank you so much. The reason it hasn't been before, because there was previous governments that had no interest. They called the North a wasteland. We don't believe the North is a wasteland. We have incredible partners here with First Nations, and we're continuing to build that. It's going to be led by the First Nations, and we're going to be there to support them, and that's the difference. We've built up relationships, and it's all about building relationships. It's about building trust. And no matter if it's Chief Bruce or Michael Fox and Chief Lorraine have asked, when you bring them over to your home and you break bread and you talk to them and you talk to their communities, that's the difference. We work together, but again, being led by First Nations. And that's how you get things done. And we want to accelerate the roads, up there because it doesn't just bring mining, it brings opportunities for their young people. And that's what we want.
And Premier, last spring, your government passed Bill 5. There was a significant amount of pushback, especially from First Nations communities in the province. You've not yet used all of the powers under Bill 5, specifically declaring special economic zones. Do you intend to do that, or are you backing off of that?
We don't need it when you have great partners. They're excited. They want to move forward. What's the reason you need it if you have incredible partners like Chief Lorraine? You're leading the way, Chief Bruce, Chief Sonny at Arrowland. They're and others right across the province. So there's no reason to use it. So let's move forward and get these things done.
Morning, Premier. Liam Casey with the Canadian Press. I'm wondering if I could just ask the Chiefs a question before asking you a question.
Yep.
Chief Lorraine, wondering what your position is on the Ring of Fire and what this deal today means to your community.
As Webequie's chief, I represent the community, and I will continue to listen to them and their interests and concerns. Thank you.
Chief Bruce, I'm wondering what this deal today means for Marten Falls.
Hello, Miigwech, for the question. In short, it means a future for our youth, where you know they've been in the past subject to very poor policies on education. You know, today our youth still feel that today, so we need to give our youth, you know, a chance to be equal partners also, to move forward in this area where there's development, training, you know, opportunities available, and the future jobs. So it means a great deal for our youth and our members also, in the face of oncoming development in our area. You know, we've always said we want to take the lead in those opportunities, and we are. And this is just one area that we're taking the lead on, and you know, it's going to be successful for us if we work in partnership with Ontario and Canada. Miigwech.
Thank you. And Premier, just following up on Sean's question, do you have any plans to designate any special economic zones in the rest of the province if you're not looking at the Ring of Fire?
Well, led by the First Nations. They want economic prosperity. If you heard what just Chief Bruce said, his youth want hope. They're seeing hope now. They're seeing hope when it comes to education. They're seeing hope that they can find a skilled trade or get educated. Doesn't matter if it's your engineer or if you're a lawyer or you're an entrepreneur. And there's going to be opportunities within the community to be true entrepreneurs. There's going to be thousands of people that are going to need items in other areas, no matter if it's even a hotel going up there. So we want to make sure that we work with them. And do you know what they want to? They want the same opportunities as people here, students here in the GTA. Maybe one night they might want to go to the community center. Well, it should be the best community center in Ontario. Maybe they want to go play hockey. It has to be the best hockey arena. But the foundation of everything with our First Nations in Ontario is one thing, is the economy. Without the economy, nothing happens here. No roads, no opportunities. So we're going to get the opportunities through critical minerals, and everyone's going to benefit, but no one's going to benefit more than the youth and the First Nations. And that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing with the $2.5 million. Give me an opportunity to train and have a good paying job to take care of their families, their future families. So that's what this is all about.
Premier, on another subject, we're here in the Metro Toronto Convention Center, which opened when Bill Davis was Premier. It's 42 years old.
Yeah.
You were saying last week that it's not fit for purpose anymore. Where will the new convention center be? Will it be here and you'll renovate, or you want to start fresh somewhere else?
Yeah, no, Rob, great question. But when I get told by the convention center board that we rank one of the worst in the world for conventions. 24th out of 25, that's unacceptable. When you have a world-class province, world-class city, we're going to build a world-class convention center. And folks, when I was in the private sector, I think I hit every convention center in Canada, in the US as well. And smaller little cities are getting international conventions over us. That's stopping. We aren't going to have a convention center that goes up, that goes down, that goes up, that goes sideways. You cross the road. That's not a convention center. No wonder we're 24 to 25. We're going to build a world-class 2 million square foot state-of-the-art convention center. And we will go from last to first, just like the mining sector. And I can't wait to announce the location. And when I say world-class, it'll be unlike any other location in the entire world. Just like the Science Center in Ontario Place, people were when they saw the design. Wait until you see the design of the world-class convention center that will attract opportunities and jobs to this great province.
Okay, so Premier, that's about 4 or 5 times the size of the current facility that we're standing in right now. So therefore, it isn't going to be here because there just isn't the physical space. So it'll be so this will continue to operate while the other one is under construction.
That is correct.
And where will that other one be? In Toronto?
Yes, it will. Just stay tuned, Rob, and we'll have that discussion in a little bit. We just have to get a few things signed. But the reason it has to be 2 million, we're losing so many conventions. Folks, I spent 20 years in Chicago, and they have a few million square feet at McCormick Center. But we're going to build something much better than the McCormick Center, much better than anywhere in the entire world. And I just can't wait. We're a government that builds.
Premier Mark McAllister from City News, back to this topic today. When we're talking about the development in the Ring of Fire itself, while the government is planning on offering the infrastructure that might be needed to these communities, there are a lot of companies in this room right now that stand to benefit as well and make a lot of money based on what is eventually going to be planned there. I'm curious how much of that ends up in the hands of these communities and what the government will be doing to help triage that.
Well, isn't it great that there's going to be companies that actually make money, that are going to reinvest into their people, into the technology? But who's going to have massive opportunities over any company are the First Nations that are going to be leading this. They're going to be in partnership with these folks. So, as I always say, you can't unscramble an egg. You got to make the omelet larger. And with the First Nations, making sure that they lead the way, the opportunities. And I'm going to pass it over to Greg Rickford, my minister. But you can explain a couple of the opportunities we've done already, everything from the strip plazas to so on and so forth.
So the centerpiece of today's announcement is obviously through the Indigenous Opportunities Fund to ensure that major projects that are required to support the development of the region, particularly around resources, is going to be led and partnered by First Nations. But that's not where the story ends. A couple of years ago, we started to put partnerships together through the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund, which my colleague Minister Peary leads now. We continue to be investing in partners with First Nations in and around Geraldton, Greenstone. They're very familiar with business opportunities. They're partners in the mining operations there and growing a profile in the service and supply sector. And in fact, as we speak, we're building a plaza right there at Highway 17 as it moves through Greenstone and up to Arrowland First Nations. And finally, and I don't want to steal your thunder, Minister, Lecce, but we recently announced a transmission line that the First Nations are the lead business partners in. So there's a lot of opportunity for these businesses that are here today. Many of them are already partners with the Government of Ontario through a number of our ministries. I think you're going to see very quickly that they understand as well as anybody that the future is to partner with First Nations communities, and we're going to provide the kind of access to capital that will fundamentally change how business gets done in Northern Ontario and in this special region.
Appreciate that. Back to the Premier, if you would. Yeah. Just a couple of weeks ago, Premier, we found out that the $97 million that was allocated from the province to the World Cup was actually signed through, passed through to Toronto, but there's still some questions around what that $97 million is actually going to be used for, and if the province is going to be contributing any more above and beyond that to help make sure that the World Cup goes off without a hitch.
Well, we committed $97 million, probably closer, well, almost $100 million to make sure that we attract everyone from around the world for FIFA. It's going to be incredible. A big chunk of that's going to be security. Another chunk of it, when you have hundreds of thousands of visitors, is healthcare. They're going to need support, and the hospitals are going to need support. So those are a couple of the top areas, but security is probably one of the number one areas to keep our people safe and keep our city safe. But again, Toronto, Ontario is on the map. People from around the world are coming here to spend their hard-earned tax dollars right here in Ontario and in Toronto.
Hi, Premier Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
That's
We're following news that the province has become involved in this project with MLSC and the city for Weston Arena. Can you explain what the province's involvement is there?
Well, I'm going to wait until MLSC makes an announcement, but there's a historic arena and a launch pad that we're looking to partner with. And I got to hold off. I think some announcement's going to be today, Siobhan, or tomorrow. So I don't want to jump the gun, but it's going to be an incredible announcement for that community. I want to thank Mohammed Friend, Councillor Nunziata, Mayor Chow, and of course, Keith Pelly over at MLSC. Everyone's working collaboratively together. Another example, when you work together, folks, things get done.
So we do have a statement from MLSC thanking you and Councillor Nunziata. So I think the cat is out of the bag. Are you able to give any more specifics about whether it's funding or any other kind of support there?
I just have to wait for that to get out there, and then I'll be able to make an announcement. But it's going to be a real positive announcement for that community that hasn't seen a lot of love over a number of years until a PC candidate just got elected, and that's Mohammed Friend. So he's done an incredible job and kind of geared it up through Michael Ford as well. But before that, there was no PC representative. That's the difference.
Hello, I'm Blair McBride from the Northern Miner. My question is, so with this announcement today of the accelerated timeline for the road construction, can you comment on how this might accelerate the timeline for the actual mines and the Ring of Fire?
Well, you want to take that? Go ahead.
I think I'll share this answer with Minister Lecce, who's been doing some great work. Look, our responsibility was to ensure that First Nations, first and foremost, were meaningful and substantive partners in the legacy infrastructure that we're building in order to develop the resources in the Ring of Fire responsibly. Those community partnership agreements reflect the priorities of the leaders from those communities. There are other partnership agreements in progress, but they all put the fundamental pieces together so that we can have a kind of region that can be developed responsibly with a minimum environmental footprint, but is led in every way, shape, or form in full partnerships with First Nations. And I'm going to turn it over to Minister Lecce to talk about the signals that he has about how the work we're doing is going to benefit that opportunity.
So today's announcement fundamentally is about accelerating the timeline on the build 5 years ahead of schedule and getting shovels in the ground this spring. An achievement that I think Canadians who are concerned about our economic prospects and sovereignty can feel confident that their government, in partnership with First Nations and communities, are working around the clock to build the economy. And part of that is the realization that we have created the conditions. We have reduced the permit timelines. We built the infrastructure, the transmission, the generation of power. In every metric, an earlier question was, what's changed? We have a plan to build a transmission line to the gateway of the Ring of Fire in Greenstone. We have a plan to build the roads ahead of schedule. We have a plan that has already reduced the permit timelines for large-scale investors within the Ring of Fire and across the province of Ontario. Broadband, environmental assessments complete. We are demonstrating to the world who's listening today at the world's largest mining conference that this province is now open for business. No longer is this a pipe dream. This is literally the infrastructure, the vision that's coming to life as we speak. And I think that's the fundamental game changer, that we're building the infrastructure to get to yes. And I believe, I will not speak for the companies and the investors in the region, but we've now made it much easier to get to yes, to deliver a permit and to start to see extraction. We would only do so in partnership with the First Nation, but all the infrastructure and all the signals is that we're moving towards that end.
Hey, Premier Barbara with Webequie Briefing. I wanted to ask you about foreign interference. You have raised concerns in the past about foreign interference, including around Chinese-made electric vehicles and cell phones, but the Ontario PC Party has not adopted any of the recommendations from last year's Foreign Interference Commission. So why not? And do you think non-citizens should be able to join the party and vote?
I could barely, I'm sorry, I could barely hear you on that. Something about Chinese cell phones? Or?
No. Last year's Foreign Interference Commission made some recommendations to avoid foreign interference during elections. You have said that you have concerns about that. Why is it that you haven't followed any of these recommendations? And what do you think? Do you think non-citizens should be able to join the party and vote or no?
Okay, that's a little confusing question, but about foreign interference? No, I was just mentioning about Chinese vehicles that they're roaming data collectors.
So you're not concerned about foreign interference in the Ontario PC Party?
I'm always concerned about foreign interference. It should be the people of Ontario that elect the representatives for Ontario. So yeah, I'm always cautious. And I'm also cautious about China, basically owning 90% of the critical mineral market around the world. That's not going to happen here in Ontario. It's going to be companies from around the world led by the First Nations. That's how we're going to operate. But they have a foothold right now around the world with critical minerals. It's not going to happen here in Ontario.
So, thank you. Legislature is also going to be back later this month. Are you considering a cabinet shuffle anytime soon?
Not as far as I know. I think I have the greatest cabinet, greatest caucus I've ever seen in over 30 years. We're getting things done. We're moving this province unlike any other government in the history of this province. No matter if it's our announcement last week on tourism and down in Niagara and Ontario Place, this incredible announcement in critical minerals, amazing announcements when it comes to manufacturing, led by Minister Fedeli. If it's energy, leading the world in the G7 in small modular reactors, building out highways and bridges and hospitals and schools. Province is moving. It's moving rapid right now. And it's faster, quicker, immediate on every single project because it's a competition. It's a competition against President Trump, and we are not going to lose against President Trump. It's a competition against the rest of the world. We're leaders here in Ontario.
Hi, Premier Tina with City News. I want to ask more about this convention center. Like, who's going to pay for it? Where is it going to be? Toronto doesn't have that much space, so there's only a few places it could possibly go. So if you could give us a little bit more detail on that.
Well, thank you for that, but stay tuned. We have an incredible idea, and I just can't mention where it's going to be or how we're going to build it, but it's going to be another shock and awe when people see it. And we're going to be out there selling Toronto for conventions around the world, international conventions that we couldn't offer before. We didn't have a large enough space, number one, but it's not conducive. When you're sitting on a 6 acre site, 7 acre site, it's not good. But we're going to make it spectacular, absolutely spectacular. Okay. And that announcement will be coming shortly.
Okay, thank you for that. And there's also a healthcare rally happening outside your Etobicoke office right now. QP is demanding more money for hospitals in Ontario. I know you've talked about how large the healthcare budget is. Yes. Has your government considered reallocating some of that money, some of those billions of dollars to the public hospital system?
Oh my goodness. No one has invested more. Thank you for asking me that. As my colleagues, they're chuckling in the back. No one has invested more in healthcare than we have. When I came into office, it was $60 billion. We're heading over $93 billion. On top of that, we're spending over $50 billion. I'm sorry, $60 billion for 50 sites. You're either getting a new hospital in your area that you've seen me announcing one at Niagara and a few other ones, or you're getting an addition to a hospital. We're the first government, and I can't remember in decades, that are actually building medical schools, adding more medical seats. We're paying for the education, the doctor's education, first ever in Ontario. If they go to medical school, we're paying for it. We're supporting the Learn and Stay program with nurses. We've attracted over 20,000 doctors since we've been in office, 100,000 nurses, and there's 30,000 nursing students right now in our colleges and universities. We're building out long-term care. Before, if I want to remind you that the previous government built out 600 roughly, and I'm going to call them beds because they were beds under them. But now we're going to build out 56,000 homes for our seniors. These are staggering numbers. We're halfway there with over 26,000. We're training over 26,000 PSWs as well. So we're pouring money into healthcare, as well as leading the charge. My great Deputy Premier and Minister of Health, Sylvia Jones. We're connecting people to doctors. We're spending $4.2 billion with Jane Philpott leading the way with our minister. So the story is incredible. Do you know what we don't do? We don't promote what we're doing in healthcare. Our government has to do a better job to inform the people, because every person I talk to, once you get in the system, you're golden. So we have to make sure we get people into the system even faster. And that's a fraction of what I'm telling you about healthcare. But thank you for that.
Hi, Premier. Fatma Sayed with the Narwhal. Being here at PDAC and focused on mining development, I'd like to ask you about 1P1P. Crawford Nickel was recently designated as a 1P1P project and a federal major project. What does a project that's fast-tracked by both levels of government look like in real practical terms? What does that mean?
I'll hand that over to Minister Lecce.
So that project, just to contextualize, we're talking about the Western world's largest nickel deposit that we have here in the ground. And we have a project proponent working with First Nations who are absolutely determined to repatriate the jobs of that nickel supply. Remember, the Premier said the Chinese dominate in critical mineral processing. Europe, Canada, the US, 90% of our rare earths are coming from that country. If any one of you here who believes in democracy and ethical resources and environmental standards and labor standards, if you care about the supply chains, then you will double down on Canada today. And that's the Premier's message. We are your reliable partner, unapologetic in defending those ethics that underpin our resources. And so when we have a federal government agreeing to accelerate, provincial government agreeing to accelerate, what it demonstrates to investors is we can, one project, one sense of permitting approvals to move it along. Crawford, just for context of its economic value to the country, roughly is a $70 billion gain over the life of that mine for Canada. And that's exactly how we build our self-reliance, getting these projects open as soon as possible.
And follow up, are the federal government and the provincial government talking about overlapping on fast-tracking other projects?
We're looking at every single project. Nothing drives me crazier more than government. And when we duplicate processes, you know, you have a municipality doing one process, then you do the province, another process, then you have the federal government, another process. That's unacceptable. One process, one project, one permit. That's what we need to do on everything that we're doing. Get government out of the way, make sure they're there to support, but not hinder and put barriers in front of the private sector. So we're knocking down every barrier we can to accelerate getting permits out there, no matter what sector it is.
Hi, Kate Helmore, Globe and Mail. Has Ottawa committed to helping fund the cost of the road network to the Ring of Fire?
Well, we haven't had an official signing yet, but I'm very, very confident that they're going to be there with us.
Around when are you expecting to officially
Well,
sign?
hopefully sooner than later. I heard that the Prime Minister just signed a great agreement, or is going to sign a great agreement with India. He's out there selling Canada. Vic Fideli and all of us are out selling Ontario. We're working collaboratively with them, but we're all working our backs off, to be very frank.
Are we
We're
talking
continue
weeks
working.
or months?
Well, we're going to get it as quickly as possible, hopefully over the next month or so. But the commitment's there.
Hi, Premier. Steve Cornwell here from the Trillium.
Hi, Steve.
Perhaps a question for the Marten Falls and Webequie chiefs. I understand there's been a lot of discussion today about some of the economic positives of developing the Ring of Fire, but I know some First Nations around the area have communicated some concerns about some of the potential social issues or challenges that may arise if there is kind of a mining boom in more remote communities. Can you kind of tell me if you share some of those concerns, if you've had any discussions with the province or the feds about ways to kind of mitigate any kind of social issues that could arise from kind of a boom of workers coming to the area?
Good day again. Thank you for that question. As you know, Marten Falls is a proponent for our all-weather road, our MF car. So, you know, we have a project team that takes the lead on the environmental assessment. And also, Northern Road Link, we're partners with Webequie First Nation on the Northern Road Link proponency. So that isn't just you know, we actually do the work. You know, we have project team members, that are community members that lead the way in those project teams. So we've been doing that work for 6+ years now. Also continuing on with the Northern Road Link on that development. And it's the way that we want to continue doing business with Ontario and hopefully Canada soon, that, you know, we need to have that partnership at the table for First Nations. And that's our position. You know, far too long, as I stated, First Nations were on the back benches of development. We don't support that. I think going back as far as the Kathleen Wynne days, so she was Premier. She set up the regional framework agreement with 9 First Nation Matawa communities. We were all involved. We sat there for 5 years, 6 years, maybe longer, you know, talking on ways to move our pillars, those areas that are crucial to our community: infrastructure, environment, the economy, and so forth. Those key pillar areas that we need to move forward and improve the quality of life for our communities. We were all there. So only Marten Falls and Webquay chose to move forward, and also at Airland, move forward and take up these opportunities. We can't wait. Our young can't wait. Our youth can't wait. Our members can't wait. We can't continue to live on in poverty and OW. 80% of our people are on OW back home. So that's unacceptable. You know, we need to move forward, take the lead in developing our lands, and that's what we're doing. Miigwech.
Perhaps I could put the question to Minister Rickford as well. Could you say a bit about if Ontario is kind of helping to support if there is a mining boom in these areas? You know, there's going to be a lot more people, a lot more kind of money kind of flowing in. And how do you make sure that the communities are safe kind of throughout that as well?
Shared governance. It's always been at the core. We made some renovations to the Far North Act to ensure that there was joint decision making. And look, this is as much about legacy infrastructure. Our winter road seasons are shrinking. And without exception, communities in the far north, in Nan Territory, are all coming to us asking for the kinds of roads that these, under the leadership of these chiefs and others, understand. The transmission line only recently addressed the fact that a number of communities in Geraldton, which is in Northern Ontario, but the southern part of Northern Ontario, have reliable electricity. They are no longer on diesel or a fragile line. These communities are still on diesel. They deserve it. They want it. Transportation of goods and services, better infrastructure. All of the communities that we have worked with, including ones that you may be referring to, do not dispute the need for all-season roads. And we think that that's where and why the federal government, who plays a significant role in that, is going to be at the table with us in the very not too distant future.
Just a quick one for the Premier. There is a special zoning order to help facilitate the government's Ontario Place plans. There's an amendment there that could put a community center, not a convention center, kind of nearby Ontario Place. Could you Could you explain what that MZO is all about?
Well, honestly, I'd have to look into it. You're saying we're displacing a community center? I'm not too sure what you're talking about, but either way, we're moving forward on Ontario Place and getting things done. You know, you listen to the chief about living in poverty, and 80% of the people are Ontario Works. We're going to bring that community out of poverty. We're going to make sure it turns the other way around, that 80% of the people have gainful employment, that have a skill, a trade, whatever it might be. They're going to get high-speed internet. They're going to get clean electricity. You know, chiefs, people here in Toronto don't understand how it is to live on diesel, rely on diesel. We're going to give them clean energy, that they can not have to rely on diesel. They don't have to be landlocked anymore. Their youth don't have to be landlocked anymore as well. So we're opening, blazing new trails for opportunities for the First Nations communities.
This will be the last reporter.
Hello, Premier Jean-Louis Doudard with Radio-Canada. On the Ontario Science Centre, I saw the new design last week you unveiled. What's your vision for the old Ontario Science Centre, and does it include a new convention centre?
Well, that's good. No, not at all. That's a very difficult site. It's actually owned by Toronto. So the land is owned by Toronto. They can do what they want. But if I were them, it's right on a main transit line. Start building attainable homes. That's what I would do. But isn't that design unbelievable? It's just spectacular. And the convention center is going to be exactly the same. And we have a few other announcements moving forward.
And this one might be more for the Minister of Energy and Mines, but on the Crawford deposit, you know, this deposit has been around for many decades and no major company has started drilling for decades. So what makes you so confident that development will go ahead on this one?
Because up until our government came in, we were the second slowest permitting jurisdiction in the entire industrialized world. Just put that into context. Investors are around us. If the flow of capital will ultimately go to the path of least resistance, if we are so inconsistent and lack predictability on the permitting timelines, why would any government or rather business invest in this province? Look at the metrics. We went from the second slowest in the OECD to one of the very fastest in the G7 because we have transformed permitting in Ontario, relentless in the pursuit to cut it by at least 50%, a 24-month turnaround time as our benchmark average. The European Union, post-President Trump, is at 27 months. We are faster, more nimble, and we have put the resources in place to get to yes. Also, many of the former considerations is that we didn't have the power in the north. We didn't have the transmission. We didn't have the generation. There are chiefs with us right here who are leading net new hydro for the first time in Ontario in a decade because Ontario's integrated energy plan secures net new power for the north. They have an 81% demand forecast. That's higher than Southern Ontario. So we're building transmission. I think about the Greenstone line, the Sudbury to Barrie line, the Sudbury to Sault Ste. Marie line. I mean, we're talking about 1,800 net new kilometers of transmission, the largest in a generation, because unlike the former Liberal government that intentionally had a policy to keep our resources in the ground, be under no illusion, we weren't second last by accident. We were second last by design, because it's either you stand by ethical resources or you don't. And there are 70,000 workers that could deploy in this province if we can unlock the Ring of Fire. There are 100,000 in the energy space just by nuclear alone, 45,000 direct, indirect within the mining space, and many more to come. So my point is, this is Ontario's moment to be ambitious and to get things done. And if there's one thing that the Premier is intimating to you all, to the investors, the 127 nations with us, it's be under no illusions. We are going to be relentless in challenging the status quo to build the confidence that nickel, a critical mineral that is needed by the Americans, needed by the Europeans for defense applications, that they ultimately need to move with speed. And the Western world's largest deposit is under our feet. So either we can let the Chinese-owned dominated mines of Indonesia or Africa to prevail, where there are precisely no human rights standards, or we, the gold standard on earth, can step it up. And that's what this is about. And Premier, if you permit me, I know Mr. Prairie has been very outspoken on this issue. And sir, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, first and foremost, this is the world's largest resource for nickel, 4 billion tons of nickel. There's only one small deposit of nickel in the States, and it's processed in Sudbury. The demand forecasts for nickel show an over 100% increase in demand for nickel. The nickel that's being supplied in the U.S. right now comes from Indonesia, that's powered by coal, financed by China, and the tailings goes to the ocean. Where do you want that nickel to come from? You want that nickel to come from Ontario. That's why we're doing this. Every single thing we're doing is to grow the economy in Ontario, in a large part, because it's here at this convention, with mining. With mining. We are under attack right now by Trump's tariffs. That's what this is all about. Getting those projects out the door quicker to repopulate our treasury that might be and is being attacked by the auto sector. That's the future we have in full cooperation with the Indigenous communities. Take a look at Crawford Nickel. The partnerships are with the Indigenous people. They're building the transmission lines. We know what we're doing. We know how to do it. And that's why mining in Ontario, in Northern Ontario, is the best in the world.
Boy, he is the smartest. When it comes, I'm not just saying this, the smartest person in mining. He's been around since before Moses when it comes to mining, but the smartest none. And I told him the other night, I think last night when I called him, I said, George, I learned so much off you. He's been in every single level, every single mining board. The guy's incredibly, incredibly smart. So thank you, George, for hitting a home run. That ball's still going across Lake Ontario. Folks, thank you for coming to Ontario. I want to thank our First Nations partners, and I want to thank all the investors here. Come and invest in Ontario. Ontario's open for business. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.